Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Blake. If there's anyone that would like to speak at this time, please step forward. There is a sign-in sheet going around. Give you a full name and the town that you come from, where you live. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this at this time?
No, this is a public hearing.
I officially declare this public hearing over. Thank you. We'll reconvene at 1 o'clock. Our board meeting.
And then we're going to reconvene at 1 o'clock.
Sam. Good, you? Yeah. What, if anything, is the
Hey, I like that shirt. Thanks.
I would like to be great on what I follow. You know what I mean? But it may be that simple. Just not converting it. It's just it's Call meeting to order. Christopher Roll.
Dowling. Here. Millay. Here. Merrill. Valente. Grace. Here. Axtell. Here. Smith. Marshfield. Groves. Isel.
Yes.
Bauer. Spacaforno. Poya. Miller. Here. Knight. Here. McCarthy.
Here.
Triola.
Here.
Layton.
Here.
Dahl.
Here. Okay, please stand for the invocation. Mr. Marshfield pledges the flag. Mr. Moya.
Dear Lord, during this meeting as we deliberate on the issues of importance to this county and its 47,000 residents, help us to be guided by your Spirit. We ask for a special blessing for this board, for our department heads, and for our dedicated employees, and for the 19 towns in which we represent. As we deal with the times we are in, we pray that we can work together to keep taxes low for our residents and still be able to continue to provide essential services for our needy, for our children, and for our elderly. We pray, Lord, for our armed forces, our emergency services, and our law enforcement. We pray that these ever so important people in our lives are protected from dangers, and may they always return to their families and friends safe and sound. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand, and ask that you clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of pride and professionalism. All this we pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
for our last board meeting, or any corrections or additions to those minutes? If not, they'll stand as submitted. The communications,
All communications have been referred to the appropriate
privilege of the floor, Mike Trillo.
Asked the privilege for Dean Fraser to talk about the energy plan for Delaware County.
Thank you. In May of 2010, the Chairman of the Board directed a number of department heads to get together and talk about what are the energy alternatives that we could look at within the county that we can get access to for helping to reduce energy costs for businesses, municipalities, individuals. And a little few machinations along the way, we finally got, we're starting to plug along, and along came the flood, and everything went on hold for over a year. And so, along the way, we hired Fred Crone. He's president of Geo-Environmental Management Solutions. And we got a $20,000 grant to look into this, and Fred is an individual that we've worked with since 2010 to try to come up with some ideas. And we've had energy suppliers involved in the discussion, Delphi involved in this discussion, Cornell Public Extension, for education outreach, and we continue to have meetings as we move along trying to explore some of these alternatives. And so we're getting close to the end. We can say this is pretty darn close to what the end of it is, and we have to submit it. Once this is submitted to the Appalachian Region Commission, it's approved, then we'd be eligible to apply for funds for projects. So, Fred, if you could go ahead and get some information.
First, we start by looking at the numbers. We had NYSERDA, we partnered with NYSERDA's FlexTech program to offer energy audits to municipalities for free, and several of them did. And some county buildings here, this is a summary of the county buildings that we looked at. Just in the two buildings across the street, a couple buildings here on Main Street, public safety on PD Lane, DPW as well as solid waste. Total energy expenses just for those facilities right there came to over $2 million, which represents approximately 8% of the county tax bill. Some of the biggest energy expenses were most certainly gasoline and diesel through the roof, followed by heating oil, then gas and electric. These are some of those expenses. So what is our mission with the program? Well, looking at those numbers, we want to be able to reduce our dependence on external sources of energy, as well as reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, but also expand the utilization of these resources to include locally accessible supplies, including natural gas. This will overall improve the local economy by increasing the demand for local resources and lead to increased employment opportunities. So what are our goals? Well, we need to really reduce fossil fuel consumption and energy costs countywide. We'd like to utilize the county and local government energy needs as a catalyst to improve the local green economy and to demonstrate to businesses and residents some of the technology that are available. We'd like to improve energy consciousness. This is a big thing that we've been discussing on how a lot of people feel that solar's this is all the one answer, or this is all the one answer, when we're trying to really look at the bigger picture and say each of these pieces are the answer. And then develop policies and procedures to support the responsible utilization of those resources. So what are some of the opportunities that the communities and businesses can look at for energy costs and consumption? Three main areas: administration, operations, and transport. Look at your energy habits, look at the buildings that you're in, the equipment that you're using, and then look at how you get to and from your locations and examine where these energy issues are. One of the most common energy issues we saw in administration is what's called overlighting. There's too many of these guys on at one time to provide the same need that half of them would cause. And we saw that in a few different energy audits that were conducted, especially in county buildings. develop a strategy would be to move forward. These are some of the things that they saw as common improvement areas that were found on county and local municipal levels. And a lot of this is some low-hanging fruit type things that are relatively low cost to implement with relatively good payback. So additionally, they sort of made some other recommendations is formalizing an energy management program, reviewing and implementing your recommended efficiency measures that were identified in the audit, develop and maintain a list of these improvements so you can show and track and use this as incentives for other people to do the same. And then investigate your renewable energy systems. They highlighted photovoltaic, solar, thermal, and wind turbines. What are the energy opportunities locally in Delaware County? Well, that goes without saying, natural gas is on the list, but it's not currently accessible due to legislative and technical constraints. So although it is probably the most abundant local resource of fuel, it is still on the back burner until things are decided. Biomass is actually available now, and through several studies that were published, Delaware County has the highest concentration of tree biomass in the state of New York, over the Adirondacks, over anywhere else in the state. By combining that with some new biomass resources that are coming online now, there's enough energy in just that biomass arena to supply all the heat energy for 100% of the homes in Delaware County. Solar, that's another, it was a surprising fact to us that there's actually more solar output here than we thought. 4.92 kilowatt hours per square meter per day means that about a 100 square foot system would supply a residential operation without too much power. Wind is rated excellent to superb. This is just an independent analysis of energy opportunities and does not deal with legislative constrictions or restrictions associated with it. Just what's here, what's available. So wind, although there are local legislative issues with wind, it is rated excellent to superb at 50 meters. It is topographically controlled, but it is available throughout the county, mostly on hilltops and hillsides. Geothermal is a resource that's not utilized very much at all, and the concept of geothermal is to capture the Earth's ambient heat to help offset your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning demands, so that when it's -10 outside, instead of your thermostat and your furnace working to fight -10, the ambient heat from the Earth comes in at 40 to 50 degrees, and it saves that much energy necessary to heat the home, or the business, or county building, or building. Micro hydro is also an application that is available here. It's especially ideal for wastewater treatment applications, for process water applications in commercial settings. There were really no large hydro applications that were feasible. Conservation technology is listed on here because that is the low-hanging fruit of all of this. Conservation technologies can easily save the county 10%. This includes utilizing things to improve lighting, looking at variable speed drives, looking at different motors, looking at ventilation, windows, and then innovative concepts such as daylight harvesting, which are highly reflective tubes that are put in the roof that come down through the floor or through the ceiling and then light up a room much like a light would without the need of light. Now, how does it translate to jobs? Well, utilizing local resources equals the need for local jobs. These local resource needs create new business opportunities, and the skill sets demanded by those businesses equal new education opportunities. SUNY Delphi has some great programs going right now. They've been a great partner to talk with during our meetings about different programs that they're setting up. They're willing to take a look at what we're doing and how we can team up and work together to develop a workforce locally to get some of this stuff implemented. Lower energy costs also equal improved competitiveness and your improved ability to move forward. So what are some of our limiting factors? The level of knowledge related to energy choices. It's not just one choice, like I said earlier. It's the multitude of choices. You have to develop education programs that make people aware that you're not going to gain all of your resource from, say, the sun, but if you combine that with, say, the sun, biomass, or wind, the other things, it all starts to add up into it. We also have to address prohibitive legislation and funding to support R&D. There's a lot of mom-and-pop operations out there with these neat ideas, and they just lack the capital to implement these ideas and see if they go anywhere. There was a little more seed funding available for that. You could probably see some new ideas come on market. There's also a lack of a willingness to incorporate different energy choices that's mostly dominated by the last bullet there, which was added at our last meeting, it's the level of risk that a lot of companies and organizations perceive the implementation of these systems to be. We also had issues with infrastructure, and when you talk about the existing county demand for gasoline and diesel, are you going to build an ethanol plant? No. So there's going to be a continued demand for gasoline. Some of the pilot opportunities we are discussing to start saving money now. The county has the opportunity to purchase its energy from different sources. MEGA is the Municipal Electric and Gas Alliance. It's just one organization that's out there that utilizes municipal government collective bargaining power to reduce the cost of your individual electricity. Local governments can use this as a way to reduce the cost of your electricity. Then, one of the things Cornell Cooperative Extension is doing is they hold these energy tours and they take you through different houses and different buildings and different locations that are incorporating different technologies, but they're all hands-on. And if you can't make it that day for that presentation, then you missed it. So what we suggested was that they incorporate this into a virtual setting so anybody anywhere can participate at any time. And they were highly receptive to that. And we support local energy projects like the installation of PV on the rooftop at public safety, which is a case example that I'll show you in a minute, and the possibility of extracting the landfill gas to power the landfill itself as opposed to trying to sell it to the grid, which is the biomass gasification of electricity and landfill gas. And then also trying to develop a program for small businesses, residents, and municipalities to incorporate, it says biomass, but incorporate any renewable energy technology or alternative. Case study, we had a local company, I forget the company's name, I think Solar Trainers International or something like that. Todd was the gentleman's name who was at our last meeting. He provided this case study for us, given the rooftop surface area and location of the public safety building. It showed that with a $115,000 investment in a 30-year system, would have an equity payback of about 9 years and save up to $750,000 in your energy costs. Now, there's a program right now through New York State and NYSERDA that would reduce that $115,000 to $50,75 and reduce the payback from 9.1 to 4.6 years and increase your savings even more. So what's our 5-year action plan? Where do we go from here and how do we get moving? Well, we've got a lot of baseline work to do still. Many communities participated in the audit.
The air pollution, if everybody in Delaware County went to that.
I don't know. We'd have to look at the emissions associated with pellet fuel and see how that compares to the emissions associated with using most commonly is oil. Fuel oil is most commonly used here. So it would be whatever the difference is between those emissions, whether it's the difference between fuel oil and I suspect it would be less.
We did a study for the Middletown Town Hall earlier this year. We asked for a study, and I believe that it was less. The emissions were less.
I think Mary Crowley probably just mentioned that talking to her about using grass products and
But just to add to your study, the company that I work for, an electric utility, we formed an LLC to develop wind. We got chased out of about every town in the county, so we abandoned that. We sold it to Iberdrola, our remaining interest. We tried to partner with New York City to do hydro projects on the reservoirs. We lost that too. The city didn't want us developing hydro on their reservoirs. Fracking, the state of New York has put an axe to that because we're in New York City's watershed.
You don't have to be in the watershed, we put an axe to everybody.
Landfill gas, our company went out on the limb and we developed landfill gas. Price of power is so low, it's shut down. We're trying to sell it now. Had we had natural gas to supplement it, it would be running yet today, but it's shut down. It's going to be sold. And as far as PV projects go, we've got several of them. And I can tell you right now, unless you're extremely wealthy, PV projects will not happen in Delaware County unless there's some kind of state or other kind of funding to supplement. That's the way it is. So that's kind of shot a hole in a lot of your program here.
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
I think the challenges were built into the program. But the idea is that we can still continue to have a plan around this, because it seems to me if we get that kind of payback on just the Phoebe Lane property, to at least look at it and examine it as something that we can do.
I'm just telling you the experience I've had, what's happened.
Well, my wife's grandchildren own Silicone Solar, and I could have had solar at my house for free and didn't want it. Number two, with geothermal.
why?
Huh?
Why?
I'm on the north side of a hill. The sun comes up at 10:30 in the morning and sets at 2:30 when it isn't cloudy. And besides that, their father, who's a doctor in Sydney, has got his fuel bill down to about nothing. So, but he screws with it so long if he worked 2 more hours in the office that he'd have made a lot more money than he saved in oil. The Green School put in geothermal. The state gave them $31 million. They drilled 180 400-foot wells. They saved $100,000 the first year in the school. The numbers don't work.
Depending on the application, that particular application.
Well, and wind, supposedly in this county, wind, we don't have enough wind.
The National Renewable Energy Laboratory says
Enough on
that.
air.
Well, my wife's son-in-law, who looks at this stuff all the time, said there isn't enough wind for it.
Check out National Renewable Energy Laboratory.
You know what? I don't believe all of those things either.
But the driver today is the cost of energy is so low today. A lot of these wind projects, they're sitting back thinking, well, you know, the cost of energy is so low.
Right. But here we are thinking large scale only. There's micro wind applications. You can put micro wind turbines, wherever it's allowable. They're doing it in New York City themselves, those wind tunnels right through the buildings. They're smaller units. They run on 7.5-mile-an-hour winds, and that's here, and that's affordable. And there are programs out there to offset those costs.
The technology is advanced immensely. There are ones that you put on the cornices of the buildings that move, and the air currents that wash up and down. There are 50-foot wind turbines you can get that make 500 kilowatts. And I think the secret to all of this is for towns to be able to get the kind of power, and it's a combination of things always, that will run the town itself and pull itself off the grid. I And that's the way to see it, because doing this, pull yourself out of it, because if you're enthralled to a large worldwide company, you know, it's not a good position to be in. If it goes down, you're in a superfund.
There is no backup.
Exactly.
They all don't have to be big projects to recognize the savings. The place I worked, we had 38 metal halide pipes in our building. And we went to a T8 high-grade fluorescent lighting, put timers on all the switches in the office, installed timers on exhaust fans, and got reimbursed by NYSERDA half of it. I think it was a $5,300 investment. We got $2,700 back from NYSERDA. And at the end of the second year, we were saving almost $6,000 a year. But if we went from T12 to T8, and if you go by NYSERDA's guidelines, and you go to T8, you have to match specific numbers on the dials to that light bulb. If you go from T12 to T5, every T5 light is 12 lights. Pain to meet the criteria.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get into logistics specifically.
Well, I mean, and that was just one building, and now it's going on to other buildings.
I mean, use me as a case in point for biomass. When I started this whole thing, I was a 100% fuel oil consumer. I'll admit it. I have an 1,800 square foot house, and I burn $4,000 a year in fuel oil. The first year I did this, I went out and I bought cheap run-of-the-mill pellet stove that you can get from a big box store. And I started running pellets. I installed it myself. It wasn't that complicated. It paid for itself the first year. My fuel bill went from $4,000 to $1,600. And that was last year including the cost of the installation. So this year is going to be even better. It's a no-brainer. There's ways to do it on a very small scale. There's ways to do it on a large scale. But if we look at all the scale and think of all the different opportunities that are out there, that's what we're going. You know, it's not going to be solved by any one solution. It's going to be solved by all.
Did you look into reducing our demand?
We didn't do any technical analyses to look at the load.
Well, that's probably the way you're going to get rid of the most of your electric bill.
Well, you can reduce your demand costs as well as the actual purchase price of electricity, which is why we put mega out there.
But a lot of the stuff, my problem is with the demand. I got a compressor in my building which is closed up now. If I turn that compressor on, it costs $168 just to flip the switch.
Is there a more efficient compressor out there for you?
I'm not running business anymore. I'm going to sell it. But if you're running in a factory and your demand is there anyway, it doesn't make that much difference. I think factories do this. They sit there and they try to make sure that they're not using, running their demand meters up. And I mean, that to me, I told my lawyer, the town lawyer in Sydney, I said, you want to make a bunch of money? Get a class action against demand meters, because that is stealing.
Because the bottom line is,
it's stealing.
They charge you minimum of 50% of what you're demanding.
That's how the utilities build from the power supply to demand.
I know. There's developments on that power plant that we aren't at liberty to discuss yet. But there are things that are happening there that may actually turn that into a viable project as well. It's new stuff this morning I'm not allowed to talk about, but it's good stuff, so there's some opportunity.
So I have pellet stoves at home, and they're just great. I have backup propane heat, which I never use. It's very expensive. And it cost me about $1,000, $1,100 a year. It's probably 3 times more if I was using the propane one. Why is there more people going to pellet stoves?
Well,
do you need a program?
No, you don't need a program.
I mean, these people obviously paying big bucks for fossil fuel. Why aren't they going to something?
What we found is it has a lot to do with convenience. You call the fuel oil company, they come in. You call the propane company, they come in, they fill it. You turn a dial and heat up your house, and you're happy. With that pellet stove, you have to go and you have to manually put in those pellets. You have to clean the ash out of that stove.
But if you're limited means, I
don't understand, but it is of convenience. And when we did the analyses on the demographics of each community, those communities with natural gas use the natural gas over fuel oil, and that was governed over price. But when you got outside of that, it was governed by convenience. Even in the most rural areas, they still use fuel oil when wood and grass and pellets would be cheaper. It's a matter of just the way
that has to
we've
do
been
with
brought up.
also an elderly population.
Yeah, that too.
That's something you have. We've had that for years.
There are significant limitations with
You know, I had this friend out in Delaware that used to run the electric company in the city. We had a rate raise and everybody was talking about the rate raise, and this girl said, "Do you heat with wood?" And he said, "That's why I left Russia."
Eliminating.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
It just seems like it just seems like the area is too small.
They appear to be small, but let me tell you,
There's a lot of misinformation.
public perception can be additive and mental. That's the hardest not to crack. Even though it's the simplest thing to change,
It's education.
it's the hardest one.
It's true, I hear people say all the time, you can't do solar in Delaware County. They do a tremendous amount of solar in the north of Scotland, where they never see the sun. I mean, come on.
And at our last meeting, Dean, the solar guy was telling us how the solar panels now work better in colder climates than they do in the warmer climates. It has something to do with the electron flow through the plates in the cooler weather. So
It's the cost. It's the cost. We do have 25% less sunlight, I believe, most of the year.
But I'm also talking, you're talking about the New York Solar Initiative from the governor's office, that it has a huge pool of money to really put these projects in order. And I've been looking into that for Middletown and trying to get my neighbor over here to sign on with us. Because even though they're targeting Brooklyn and the Poughkeepsie, Kingston area, and somewhere up near not Jamestown, near Utica for named places they want to do these projects, we're not ineligible because we have a smaller population. And not to take advantage of that pool of money doesn't make sense to me, so.
Is that NYSERD?
Yeah, it's a NYSERD in New York
It's a
State.
40%, right?
It's 50%, but there's the limitation on that is it's got to be 50 kW system, which is a sizable system, which is why we chose Phoebe Lane, because that building, that complex is enormous, and you see the payback is right there. But when you're dealing with, no offense to smaller municipalities, but you don't have 50 kW demand, and that's what the limitation is going to be for participating in that program. You have a minimum of 50 kW.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Well, I think if this was going to work, they wouldn't be subsidizing it. And if they didn't subsidize it, it wouldn't be there.
I respectfully disagree.
Go ahead.
I just did.
The biomass issue is, wood pellets, for example, there's a company in Deposit that's put in a multi-million-dollar plant. They see the opportunities there. What we're talking about here is an solving an issue overnight. It's talking about over time. And one of the things that we're going to be focusing on is education, but there are some of the companies that are involved in interested in helping us move along and try to figure things out. So we thought we put up the low-hanging fruit. There are some things that could be done. I mean, just shutting off a light and leave the room. So I don't think we should. I think we should be exploring what we can, and that was the whole point of the process, was to identify where some opportunity areas. If we could find a commercial way to get bulk pellets into a school or something like that, where it was all augered and automatic, you know, especially in the watershed, that could be a big savings. So we want to continue to look at the opportunities. It was made clear by all the businesses, it's all about risk. And whatever we come up with, we've got to minimize the risk exposure to anybody that's willing to make an investment. And you're right. Without subsidies, some of these things can't happen.
Supposedly, right now, for residences, electric is the cheapest heat in the county.
Right.
And my planning board guy, who's an EE, told me that, and he's careful how he spends his money.
Well, I know in my house, I've been walking all my life. And I've had natural gas all my life, and it comes out of the pipe, and
convenient.
Yeah, and That makes a difference to me if I had to buy that same BTUs from oil versus natural gas, it cost me about $2,000 more a year.
But you got natural gas.
Yeah, I'm saying natural gas in that particular case.
Wouldn't it be nice to have that throughout the county? That'd be a big savings. Okay. D, shut this off, would you? And we're gonna dim the lights, folks, so it's... No. It is interesting what the state requires in terms of candle power for offices and all like that. It's far more probably than we should be using, which is a waste of energy.
That was part of the study, and that's interesting you brought that up, because he's wondering why we override our rules. And he thought that'd be the first one. If you're constrained by it, there's not much we can do.
That's right.
Changing behaviors only on high school buses, I'm bringing that up to their attention. Huge savings. Someone that's actually monitoring the electric use, but huge savings and turning off the computers at night. Coordinating with IT, I mean, when you're uploading and downloading, it has to be done scheduled. Schedule your rooms together. But there's a lot of things you do just by changing the way you look at it. It's not cheap and easy.
I go around here and turn off lights in
Jimmy
bathrooms.
Carter.
Well,
That was a pejorative.
it's just part of me. If you're not in the room, you don't need the lights on. So. Conserve, conserve. Thank you all. Thanks a lot. Okay. Any committee reports? Do we have any? So we'll move on to resolutions. First resolution number 146.
Move for adoption.
2012 budget amendment, Sheriff's Office.
Any questions on this resolution? Call roll, Chris.
Donlin?
Yes.
Malay? Yes. Fuente?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Axtell?
Yes.
Smith? Marshfield?
Yeah.
Rowe?
Yes.
Isaac? Bauer?
Yes.
Speckman?
Yes.
Latoya? Miller?
Yes.
Hunt? McCarthy?
Yes.
Triola?
Yes.
Layton?
Yes.
Dahl?
Yes.
Resolution 147.
I come up with resolution and move for its adoption.
Second.
2012 budget amendment, reimbursement of expenses and maintenance on the agenda. Renewal, CDBG flood relief grants funds, Department of Economic Development.
Call roll, Chris.
Donlin?
Yes.
Malay? Yes. Valente?
Yes.
Tracy? Axtell?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Marshfield? Rowe?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Speckman?
Yes.
Latoya? Miller?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Triola?
Yes.
Layton?
Yes.
Dahl?
Yes.
We need to call up local law number 1 of 2012. Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay.
Local law authorizing an increase in fees collected by the county clerk for recording, entry, indexing, and using a certificate of any
Okay, so, sorry, the local law will take effect January 1st, 2013. And then we'll have a public hearing on this. We have to do the resolution, okay? Moving on to the resolution 148.
I bring this up and move it to adoption.
I'll second it.
public hearing on local law number 1 of 2012, county clerk's office.
And that will take place at our next board meeting on October 24th at 12:45 here in the Board of Supervisors. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So carried. Resolution 149.
Bring up resolution 149 and move for its adoption.
Resolution seeking benefits from the proposed constitutional pipeline, watershed affairs economic development.
Who wants to get in this besides Cindy and Bill?
It's not a good idea. And a lot of good towns do too, because I hear from them all the time.
I have 4 right-of-ways across my property with NICEAG, well, 3 of them are NICEAG. And if I didn't want them there, you wouldn't have electric in Delaware County if I could get them out of there.
Yes.
I don't like it.
And
Pipeline is a hell of a lot less intrusive than those lines.
until it explodes, of course. We've had a few of those too. Until it explodes, of course. Also, you know, when they put these pipelines in, they're going to be going down slopes that are more than 30 degrees. They're going to be blasting the hell out of everything. And people who live on those properties are going to have real trouble. People have all of their resources in the land they own. They save it for their kids, and suddenly it's worthless. They can't sell it.
It's not worthless. They're shooting for $55 a foot. That's not chicken feed.
This is ultimately a decision by FERC, right,
Yes.
on the national level. So
And it
in a
has
certain
nothing to do with
sense,
us. They're gonna put
it
it
just has something to do with us, and that if our constituents have a stake in this and they have an opinion about it, we're at least here to listen to them. I mean, me personally, I don't believe it's coming anywhere near Middletown. I support the getting the economic benefit for some of the county that wants it, but I also feel those towns need to determine for themselves what they want, and whether they want the pipeline, but I'm for it. Doesn't touch me, however.
Ultimately, it will be a decision by FERC. It's going to be our decision.
That's, you know, I agree with her on other towns making decisions on their pipeline, being proposed or not. But as a standpoint for Delhi, speaking strictly for Delhi, it's essential that we have, it comes through our, it's essential it comes from Delhi. We have 2 plants in the college here who are looking at these economically viable energy sources. We're looking at possibly widening our plants in Delhi as a result of
Increased jobs.
increased jobs, increased revenue. I mean, these are milk plants, these are food-producing plants with agriculture. So the whole thing is, you know, if it comes here, we can get the industry to increase their output, it's good. That's all I have to say about that.
Jomo doesn't use American milk. They import case.
Job.
Yeah, Ken, I just wanted to say that, you know, we're not depressed, but we're on hard times, and anything we can do to create jobs, increase revenue, in the form
report that residents are leaving the Wheaton School District, adding surprise in the fact that the town's assessed valuation fees will provide $30 million based on the compressor station that is next to the Millennium Pipeline. And there's gas lines coming out of Pennsylvania bringing more gas to that facility. That resulted in a reduction, and I believe they're $18,000 assessed valuation on their school tax this year. So there, to me, this is the beginning of an example of some of the economic plus of having this in the area. And on top of that, when Maravitos were supplying the school, they thought there was going to be some kind of wait, and laws have been in place long enough where schools had to be dual fuel, and they were already set up for gas through the state set that up.
Marty?
Thank you, Jim. I intend to support the work of the IDA, the chairman of the board, in reference to keeping Antranol a viable business in Delaware County, and there's 1,600 jobs. I don't know anybody here, definitely not me, who's prepared to hire 50 workers, never mind 1,600. And that would make a major impact on our residents, on our taxpayers, and on the county tax base. I intend to vote for this resolution, but I do not want this vote to be interpreted that I am for or against fracking. This resolution may be premature, in my opinion, since we currently have 5 or 6 options on the table and reference to site locations. Today's vote is very similar to the way the business is conducted in Washington, D.C. i.e., if we vote for this today, we'll find out what it's all about later on. And this is what's going to happen. We'll find out the details later, where they're going to put this thing, when they're good and ready to tell us, and not a minute before. This is a terrible way to do business, and it's not the way Delaware County works. But I will support it. I think it's important to keep Antranol.
Thank you. Bruce?
We've had the benefit in Walton of having natural gas my whole time living there. The savings have been substantial. From a budget point of view, I looked at the Walton Central School versus the Delphi School and did it by square footage. The Delphi School would save over $80,000 a year if they had natural gas. The county would save over $90,000 a year if we had natural gas. We can't afford not to. We have senior citizens here who are on fixed incomes. We have a very high population that uses heat. This would decrease the cost of heating these homes and would be a tremendous savings for all of them. You know, we've all been talking about our senior citizens, and they're having a very hard time with heating costs. And we talked about alternative heating sources. They can't stoke a fire with logs most of the time, or carry 50-pound bags of pellets into the house and take care of them. And we're putting them at a disadvantage. From a business point of view, I have an office in Walton, Delhi, and City. Per square foot, my Walton office is the cheapest of all of them, and it's the largest of all. And that's a definite benefit. That tells me how many more people I can hire based on my cost of running my business. And it's definitely high without having natural gas. So I will support it myself. Thank you.
Dennis, you want?
Town of Davenport
Thank you, Bruce.
is most likely the most impacted. It's very much front and center of Davenport Town Light, Davenport Town Board meeting. And I made a promise to the people of town of Davenport that I'd be an unbiased and fair provider of information, facilitator of any type of discussions, meetings, and this resolution is now posted in Davenport Town Hall, no matter about it. I'm not going to support this pipeline, and I'm not going to oppose this pipeline. Because in my opinion, to do item 1 would taint the perception of my delivery and what I'm offering to you. I got a phone call from a widow just 2 days ago that was concerned because now she's in this new group. And she was told, talk to Dennis, he doesn't have a picture. Tell exactly where it sits, where I think it's going, where to find information, where to find like-minded people. I'm very much supportive of natural gas. I don't think you can link these two. Pipe going in this resolution appears to support the pipeline project, is not the same as getting natural gas into this community. So at this time, I plan to vote this resolution.
Anyone else? Sam?
Well, as a town along with deposit that has a pipeline, I'll tell you what Millennium Pipeline means to the town of Hancock, and it's iron apple for it. Because we already had an existing right-of-way, we didn't have to have a new right-of-way. But they did have to widen the right-of-way that was there. It was a 12-inch line, they went to a 32-inch line. Last year with the pilot program that was reached with the Delaware County IDA, negotiated it for us. And Millennium, when they went through, they went and worked with each county IDA rather than coming up with separate agreements for the 60-some plus towns or whatever it was that were in the whole area. And last year, the tax revenue off the pipeline was $158,000 for the county, for the school, and the town of Hancock. This is something that requires no service.
Each?
Actually,
Each?
No, all together. Collectively. But also when they went through as far as host community benefits, the county was successful in negotiating $1.1 million that they paid in 10 yearly installments that's ongoing to the county. So there's host community benefits that will trickle on down and help small businesses get started. But this was a huge, huge economic boom for the town of Hancock. We had 25 miles of it. And when that was going through the town, there was inconveniences and construction equipment being moved, and it was a tough time for everybody involved. It was short term. But the small businesses that were affected off this, whether it be the sandwich places or the parts stores or the hydraulic shops selling hydraulic hoses, the heavy equipment repair facilities working on dozers, dump trucks, all the associated equipment. The fuel delivery trucks, they would go in at night and fuel up all the equipment on site. It was just a huge economic boom, and it was mostly local people. Local 825 in this region provided most of the operators for the job. I think there was 180 of them now, and I think like 140 of them were directly around here. There were a lot of out-of-town places. When you read a lot of the articles on natural gas industry, they say there's a lot of jobs that the pipeline companies bring with them, and that's mostly related to the welding that I noticed. And they come from Texas and Wyoming, and you'll see them on 1-ton dually truck, welders, settling torches and all the fixings, and they drive right on site and do the welding there. But as natural gas is evolving in Hancock, we had 4 or 5 of our kids last year jump right out of high school and go to a welding school in anticipation of the natural gas industry. So it is different because this is a whole new right of way, and it's going to have an impact. But natural gas is here. Natural gas is here now. I mean, Hancock, we have the 32-inch line. My employer has natural gas vehicles. Hancock is the last place you can fill up a natural gas vehicle going east. DOT, capable of fueling 50 cars a day. I drove a natural gas pickup for 5 or 6 years and loved it. You wouldn't notice the difference. At the end of the oil change, 12,000, 15,000 miles, you take the oil out of the engine, it looks like it's never been used. There's no emissions. My house, I heat, I cook with natural gas. I got little kids, and little kids lived in the exhaust the whole time they've been alive. My furnace is 95% efficient. It's got a 2.5-inch line right out the side of my house. I don't need a chimney because the emissions aren't that bad. Draws in cold air, pushes out the bad air, no chimney. But everybody that's burning wood around it keeps in my house, and I have to smell that. There's no fumes. I lived out in the country and had fuel oil for a couple of years. I'll never go through that mess again. But, you know, in Pennsylvania, if you read around, I've done a lot of research on the whole thing, fracking or no fracking, whatever, but Pennsylvania is booming. It is. Log on to some of these Pennsylvania newspapers and see what we're missing out on. It's disgusting. Williamsport, they have a section in there just on new businesses that pop up every other day. It's just phenomenal, the economic boom that's going on. Procter & Gamble and some of these big companies drove for gas on their own property and put in electric generation plants. They're generating their own power in the Northeast. So we're not losing those companies down south or to Mexico or other places where they don't have the high utility bills. it's a big game changer, and you know what, this is about the host community benefits, and I think the county has to get out in the forefront and say, we're gonna require something for the sacrifice. Inevitably, it's up to FERC. I don't think they've ever turned one down. It's gonna be by need. It's not gonna be by politics. They don't go for the little signs and all the other stuff. It's science. Is there a need? Sorry, there's no data that says it's bad. You know, we're looking at a compressor station down in Hancock, and I had to hear all kinds of stories about that. They compared us to Texas and all these other places. Texas, the government doesn't regulate anything there. They're their own world. Wyoming, they've got some of the dirtiest natural gas there is. The gas that's coming out of Pennsylvania is the cleanest natural gas there is. It doesn't need any purification. When they vent these compressor stations, it doesn't have the particulates that it does out west or in Texas where there's no regulation. Well, that's another $35 million facility that is going to be the gift that keeps on giving. So we've got the pilot program on my pipeline for 15 years. We're coming up on the second 10 years. We've got the compressor station, and I'm anxious to get the pilot program and the host community benefits for that if it goes through. They're going to file formally with FERC at the end of the month. But when the compressors, or the Millennium pipeline comes offline, then that gets taxed by how much volume is going through the line, and you just double capacity with your compressor station. So the county, the school, the town, this, like I said, it's a gift that keeps on giving. We're not putting more kids in our school. We're not putting any more traffic on our roads. We don't have to plow the roads. We don't have to blacktop anything. Just sit back and hold their hand out. And they're good neighbors. Millennium Pipeline has given to our libraries. They have given to our fire departments. They have given to our youth education programs. And Constitution Pipeline's offering the same type of thing. In a state that just slipped to 50th as far as taxes now, today in the paper. We went from 46 to 50th. We've got a 2% property cap. It's economics for me, and it's economics for everybody sitting at this table.
Well, in addition to that, one of the complaints that I get about this pipeline often is that this is going to encourage more fracking. And I said, you know, if you want to discourage fracking, ban gas in New York City where your other house is.
Cheap energy makes our businesses more competitive in the state, globally.
Very
As you said,
informative.
yeah, it was very informative. Procter & Gamble, I didn't realize they were even doing things like that, drilling their own wells and putting in a generator. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's the name of the game going forward. We've got to have it. Okay, we need to vote on this resolution.
Request for public comment?
One point, there is no public comment. So.
Why isn't there?
Call to roll, Chris.
Sir, 8 towns are being affected. Wouldn't it be wise to find out the sentiment of the people in these towns regarding this project?
Don't allow public comment. I'm sorry, sir. Call the roll.
Boulay?
Yes.
Boulay? Yes. Valente?
No.
Bracy?
Yes.
Axtell?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Marshfield?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Isel?
Yes.
Bauer?
No.
Spacaforno?
Yes.
Koya? Miller?
Yes.
Hines?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Triola?
Yes.
Layton?
Yes.
Dahl?
Yes.
Okay, I have one not pre-filed resolution. I'll waive Rule 10 without objection. That's Resolution 150.
I'd like to bring this resolution up and move for its adoption.
King of Water?
Hold on, you want to call the roll, Chris?
Donnelly?
Yes.
Boulay? Yes. Valente?
Yes.
Bracy?
Yes.
Axtell? Smith? Marshfield? Rowe? Isel? Bauer? Spacaforno? Koya? Miller?
Yes.
Hines? McCarthy? Triola? Layton? Dahl?
Yes.
Okay, we have 2 committee meetings scheduled after the Legislative Committee, and I'd like to meet the Human Services Committee.
It was his friend.
Okay, all right, so that's after our meeting adjourned, so it's just committee meeting, and I see what other things. Motion, can I have a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So carried, we're in executive session, thank you everyone. No further business there, huh? I didn't hear the personnel? No.
Hello there. Hi. I see you hiding back there. Yeah, snuck in the back.
That's the reason for hiring personnel.
Oh, it keeps speaking. I don't know.
Yeah, you know better me.
Okay. We're gonna explain. Okay.
This is the colors we need. It's just a little different style.
It's gonna be the next big thing.
Sit up there with the microphone, 20 minutes.
Rich? How are you? Again, bye, how are you?
I know you're a busy man.
Hang in there.
The old totem pole, right? That's right.
How you doing? See you later. Thank you. That was a great letter you wrote.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Very, very good.
Good. Good, thank you.
How are you, Bob? How you doing?
We've got, there's gonna be a meeting.
Good? Me too. How are we doing? Good. There you are. Huh?